Spiritual grief number 5. This week is all about speaking your truth, which means a lot to me. Most of my work is about being a fifth dimensional leader, to bring in new ideas of spirituality, activism, and to change the paradigm. And so I felt into a lot about what I wanted to speak around grief in this week, and I wanted to dispel myths and lies and things that hold us back, which is why I called it spiritual rescue, witches work, and death spells, because it's an area I feel really, really passionate about. I'm also burning some sage to clear the space. So here's the thing, we know we spend a lot of time on this planet in a body, but we also know we spend a ridiculous amount of our time not in a body. That is what death is, the beyond the body state. Now, if you have a different belief that, and I respect all realms of beliefs, but if you believe that we are just this body, then this whole series is not for you. I would switch off now, because this is what I call death spell number 1. The belief that we die and that is it. And that death is completely the end and that's all we are, this body. And unfortunately, this paradigm has been so rife in our society. It is the thing that makes us sick, because we just associate with physical bodies and don't connect with the soul and the spirit and the much, much more of what we are. So we're put under a death spell right from the beginning. Right from the beginning, when we look at our well-being and our health and our mind and ignore our soul and our spirit, because we're under a death spell, that we've got to hold on to this little life that we have and that is everything. And I find that trap can be so debilitating for people. And beyond that, it's actually quite heartbreaking to witness anyone going through that death spell of I'm only this body and I'm getting sick and weak and there's nothing that we can do about that. I feel like that is a way society's gone so wrong, that as we get older and we get wiser and we have more knowledge, we can be more and more celebrated and more expanded, but we're fallen under the spell of, oh no, we're just driving towards death in the end. And then I want to launch into death spell number 2. And this is, for me, all around the word, because dead means no longer alive. And that's similar to the belief, that I mentioned before. So it's worth considering that what does it mean to be alive anyway? So the word alive is meant to be the opposite of death, right? But is that actually true? Are we actually in a different frequency when we're dead or when we're alive? It's like no one's fully pursued this thought through, that we have life, spirit, this thing inside us that can never be extinguished. So how does that change when we're the dead or whether we're alive? Now, to be alive, I was like, what's the meaning of being alive? And it said to make a living. So being alive is equated to making a living, to making money, to being productive. Once again, we're under a spell. That's not really living, that we're just here to earn an income. So it's like we have all these kind of spells put on us and we just need to unpick them, because to feel alive, to be alive, to have life, to have spark, to have energy, to have spirit, is so much more than earning a living or being extinguished when you're so-called dead. So being alive and dead are both words that are under death spells, I feel, and that actually we have to look at the more eternal nature to break the habit and the spell that death has. And that leads me on to death spell number 3. Everybody says that we can't know anything about death for sure. We just don't know. But then there's all these people that have been dead and come back, near-death experiences, and they talk about that experience and what happened. They talk about life reviews, scanning their lives. They talk about the light, and they talk about conscious choices about coming back. So how do we really not know about death? Isn't that a spell that we're just being put under? We don't know. I think we do. And I know for me, I haven't had a near-death experience, but I've had many past life regressions where I've seen different timelines, and I've even gone beyond the time when I'm living into the time that I was in between, when I was so-called dead, to see what happened there. And there was a lot of a different consciousness and a higher awareness and a more spiritual way of being. So to just say that we are dead is once again a spell, and that I feel that there is evidence there, and the evidence is usually out there if you want to search for it, but also in here if you want to find it, discover it, and receive it. So for me, death has so much around it that is just a big spell. So I have to ask, why would humans be put under these death spells in the end? So why would we as a human race be put under these death spells in the first place? And this is, I feel, the biggest form of spiritual activism and thing that I really want to bring forward, because it's where things get interesting. Because if we remain uninformed about death and what happens to us after we die, I feel like we're put into a much more vulnerable position and could be subject to ending up in the wrong realm. We might remain stuck. We might be in a certain sort of trap, because the thing is that many people understand now, and certainly a lot of people that resonate with what I talk about in my work, is that there is a dark agenda playing out on earth. So that agenda is forcing power over. It's slightly anti-life with people. It's not looking at the best interest of the people or power to the people. It's putting a spell and suppressing people and making them make a living and being here to serve an economy, or being here to serve a system that doesn't really serve them. But beyond that, we think that, oh, this will end after this earth and then we'll be free. And I think that's huge in the spiritual community, that the way out of here is complete freedom and to touch into the spiritual realm and go beyond the earth. But what about where you go beyond the earth? You know, are there still traps laid out for you? I mean, when you understand the whole magical component of life, you can see that, you know, where does our body go? What are people talking about? Where is the next realm? And this has been talked about by so many ancient texts and work. And I think this is the really important knowledge that we need to have in this lifetime, and we need to work with, and we need to uplift as a whole community of souls that need to release the death spells. Because what I know is that there's a fourth astral realm. So this is a realm of where a lot of healers and people like myself work in, where there are discarnate spirits, there are darker entities, there are energies, there are forces that aren't even spiritual matter. And this is a realm that soul fragments can end up in. And this is a realm where a lot of people that don't choose or know or navigate the journey to higher spirit light can end up post-death. And I feel that it's a really good thing to be well educated on the astral realm, because not many people really want to address it. I remember when I first asked my healer when I was training in energy work about this astral realm, and she was like, well, it's kind of the realm of thoughts and darker entities, and it's not a place you want to go to. And that was it. But actually, it's a place that you really want to learn and navigate and master, especially from this realm, because we live in a third dimensional realm, which is the idea that everything is physical and concrete, and you can see and touch, and you have these five senses, and that's it. And then there's this fourth dimensional realm that comes into being, that you become awareness, that is the realm of your mind and thoughts and spirits and souls, discarnate spirits, um, where a lot of people that are sort of what they talk of as ghosts that are trapped in this realm and ready to be released, or loved ones that are hanging on to something. This is all in the fourth dimensional realm. And then there's the fifth dimension, which is the realm of us connected with our higher spirit, the spirit that never gets harmed, our connection with true source. And this realm can go above and above and above, but I feel it's the dimension that we're all trying to get into at this time, in this reality, in this paradigm. And it's a dimension where we can blend and mix with spirits, and higher consciousness and guidance and unconditional love space, and that we need to access it from the earth, but we also need to make sure that our loved ones and spirits are all on this higher realm too. We all deserve to be there in this fifth dimensional consciousness, which is breaking apart the matrix and the paradigm that we live in, the dark spells that we've been under for generations and generations, that we are just this body, that we die, that we're this, that we need to be a slave to a wage, that all of these death programmings that make life very unalive, very unspirited, and not such an amazing place to be. And I feel like we're moving into a time when spirit needs to be seeded into humanity, and that means all of life, all of your soul trajectory, all the way along the path, and it doesn't just end when we die. Ooh. So this is why I want to talk about the reincarnation trap. And I feel that reincarnation is a bit of a trap, because if we die, and once again, I use this word and have expanded beyond this word, if we pass over into a different realm, let's say, and we go into that realm and we have a look at our life and we see all that we've done and we learn our lessons and we think we'll come back and we'll do something differently and we'll learn this, why would all of those memories become wiped for us to start again? Because if on a soul's journey, and I know I believe in souls, but if part of the soul's plan and the soul's lesson was to lay it all out, and then see if you could come and learn it, why would you forget the lessons? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I've really felt into that for quite a long while and not heard many people speak about it until I came across David Icke's book, The Trap. And finally I was like, thank you, soul brother. Someone else was talking about this reincarnation trap. So I think it's really good to become aware of that, because many teachings are out there about the reincarnation process. So say, for example, someone like Gnostics would talk about a waiting room. And this waiting room is like a grey area where spirits get stuck trying to go to the artificial light that they talk about, which is the middle realm. And this is between the upper and the lower realms, where the soul waits to reincarnate and gets trapped by low ignorance. And you can read more about this in the Nag Hammadi texts. Or there's the Tibetans, who address this realm karmically, the realm of the mind, where people can end up after death. And you can find out more about this in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And it advises not getting pulled into this dimension once you die, because there's a higher pure light. But they also talk about a lot of different lights and draws and energies that people can get pulled into if they don't know to follow the path of the higher light and get stuck in the realm of a distorted mind. And then there's the Egyptians, who talk about afterlife in the Book of the Dead, which has actually been renamed as Going Forth into the Light. That's its actual name, I'm sorry. And it looks at what stops the soul from getting there into this reincarnation process. But this book is also a book that was given to people that had money. So it was scriptures that people could have to help their journey to the afterlife. But really, why would you gift this to just some that could afford it? For me, that's another dark spell laid out there, because actually all of our souls, our innate spirit, all deserve to be one with the light. We all deserve to have this unconditional love frequency. Everyone that is a spark of light needs to be connected with the home of their light. So that brings me to a way out of this trap. Can we get out of this trap? And I think we can. We need to first be aware of the trap being there and questioning into it and being curious about these different realms, being curious about what happens after death, being curious about how we can help those that might be trapped. And if there's resonance about any of this, I think it's just worth asking more and looking more into it. And there's a lot of work out there. A lot of the work that I do looks at all these different realms, getting people to activate and awaken their own soul's story, which is their own soul's history or her story. And it's all laid out for you. You've done this journey. You know these realms. You know how to move souls and spirits on. You know how to ascend because you've been under the paradigm. Your soul has taught you the lessons and the mistakes. It's just a case of remembering them, because no one had the right to wipe your memories. And that, to me, is where the dark agenda played out, wiping our soul story. Another way out of this is spirit rescue. So there are many people out there who work rescuing spirits that are earthbound, spirits who are stuck. So this can be when people report they feel their houses are haunted, or when you have negative energies in your home, or you can often go to land spaces where you feel like the energy is off. And a lot of this work can be done by people. I often clear out homes. I clear out bodies because I feel that these energies get attacked and come in to bodies as well as spaces. So this is a whole level of work that needs to be navigated and learned, and inevitably there are people like myself, but everybody can do it, to move spirits on and take them up to the higher light. And this is a work I feel we need to do as a community to raise the collective. It isn't just about raising spiritual awareness here in this paradigm, but everyone, our ancestors, everyone that's gone before us, help them all on this ascension process. So it's worth knowing about discarnate spirits, because they are spirits that often end up in places like astral realms, or they want to get attached. Discarnate spirits can attach to people's bodies of the living, especially if they died of a disease, something like a drug addiction or alcohol. They often try and attach to somebody that has that addiction so they can live through them. There's also demonic entities which attach to light work and healers sometimes. There needs to be a lot of clearing work done. They also attach to people that are in certain spaces or haven't upped their spiritual practice enough, or even people that aren't aware of them, and they've come in and seen the light and attached to them. So I have very recently uploaded a Black Rose clearing meditation, and I've uploaded this for that very reason. If you suspect any of your energy is off or misaligned, or you are doing this work where you're helping spirits move, souls being rescued, then it is a really good practice to keep doing to make sure that you are staying aligned and cleared and protected. But then I also wanted to talk about soul rescue. So soul rescue. So I need to differentiate the difference between spirit and soul here. So soul is an essence of us that is part of us. So we have mind, body, spirit, let's say. That's keeping it very simplistic. So we have a physical body and then a soul essence. I mean, the Egyptians put it in the light bodies, the 10 bodies of light, and they would talk about the etheric double, which was kind of like our soul, and the physical body and our organs and our fluids, and then they would talk about our shadow body, and we'd have even more bodies, and then bodies of light, our spiritual body, our connection. So it went up and up and up and up. And I think the most important thing to be aware of is that we are, firstly, more of this body, as I've talked about in death spells, but that actually we are more than our soul's consciousness, because our soul is the part of us that can get fragmented through trauma. It's the part of us that can basically, when something that upsets us, and I think this is a really good thing to bring it back to with grief, is that part of our light can fragment and leave the body. If you've witnessed someone going through quite a traumatizing and painful death process, which is something I've been through, part of your soul can fragment and leave the body to protect you and to be out of that. A lot of healers and people talk about the fact that the soul will leave the body. I've heard a lot of mediums speak about this as well. The soul will leave the body if someone's going through quite a traumatic death, if they've gone through, it's been a murder or a very bad, painful way to die, that the soul would have already left so that they can't feel that. And that is what our soul does for us. It protects us and leaves. But that also means that there's part of our souls that are fragmented and left in different places. And what realm are they in? They are in this fourth dimensional realm. So we need to collect these soul parts, whether it's soul parts that have been lost through grief or soul parts that have been fragmented through the death process. It means that somebody's going on to the other side, not necessarily a whole healed self. And I feel that that is some of the most important work that we, and I want to say we witches, can do, because that brings me on to a witch's true work. Now, as many people know, looking through our history, witches, or so-called witches, did not die well. They were traumatized, they were burnt, hung, drowned, tortured. The list goes on. It didn't end well for many witches. Now, a lot of people say, and there were a lot of people that were misaccused for being witches and that were just innocently going about their life, not doing anything wrong. And then there were many people that were, weren't liked for something, or I think, and then got accused of being witches. But then there is this other paradigm that I've always try and bring into awareness, that there were witches and healers and light workers, and those that were they were working with spirit. So they were working in the astral realm, they were working with protection spells, they were looking after the community in a certain way, they were midwifing souls, and they were helping with the death process, the death doulas that I spoke about before. So there was this whole community of people that were nourishing and looking after souls and spirits. And this community were also killed and taken out of our history of being as witches and brutalized. And so you see, we have a problem. We have the people that were protecting the people on a body and a soul and a spiritual level that were wiped out of history. And where did their souls go? What happened with that fragmented pieces and that drop in consciousness? So for me, one of my causes and my soul's remembering and urges, and this would have been directly from my divine spirit essence, was to protect these people that were our protectors, to help heal my soul, which was part of that story, and to also help all of those that were traumatized and didn't die well. And that's what I feel is so important from this week, is that to look at how we die and what happens beyond when we die, and how we can protect that process beyond the veil. Now, what I will be doing for this, because this is a lot of stuff to bring up, and I always want to bring something up with a healing elixir to be added into it, because this is how we take our power back. This is how we take our souls back. So next week, I will just be moving into a soul ceremony. And that soul ceremony is to gift people the power to do this work themselves. Firstly, it will be looking into any trauma that a loved one that has passed over may have faced, healing that, and also ensuring that their soul has gone on through into the right divine light. I'll also be looking at ancestral trauma, any in your own bloodline that you want to focus on. For me, there is awareness about bringing witches on and helping their souls. And then I'll also be looking at the soul parts of yourself that have been harmed and need to come back into. So it's going to be a hugely nourishing soul ceremony. Okay, so we're now going to do a throat clearing meditation. So if you get yourself comfortable, either sitting or lying down with your eyes closed, and just bring your awareness into your throat, your neck. Is there any stiffness that you could stretch or circulate just a little bit before coming into stillness? And our throat chakra is connected in with the 5th dimensional frequency. So this is a higher consciousness as we've moved through the ages of the root of the earth, of reproduction and the sacral, and of power, the solar plexus, and heart-based living. We move up to the throat. And for me, this is about how free and open and available we are to speak our spiritual truth. So feel into your throat. Is there any restrictions around your throat? Tightness in your neck? Has your posture become realigned so that your neck leans forward and the energy can't quite get up right from your spine into your crown? And lifting this energy up and down the spine through the throat and clearing any stagnant energy. Feeling into this blue area and connecting in with the higher dimension of spirit. And there is a part of you here on this 5th dimension, your spiritual self, your higher self, your wisdom keeper. And link in with this aspect of yourself, because this part of you knows wisdom about living and dying well. This part of you has undone all the spells and the mysteries and the illusionment, and knows what's true for you in your soul, in your spirit. And this wisdom the world needs, so that people aren't living in sickness and dying with trauma. So from this space in your throat, I want you to clear this space out, remove any shadows, let it spin bright blue so that you can speak your spiritual truth with confidence and calmness and assurance that it matters, you matter, life matters, and death matters too. It's all part of the same trajectory of eternal spirit. So feeling into your throat and your higher light flame of wisdom, I want you to sit in silence and hear, sense, know, channel your spiritual truth right now. And I now want you to feel into your throat and just travel down a timeline of when you might have been persecuted for speaking your spiritual truth. And we're going to release and heal that now. So all you need to do is see a silver cord of light coming out from your throat, taking you down to a different timeline where you'll see an event, a place, a scene, where you were once working for a community. You were a witch or a Gnostic or a priest, a knight, a priestess. Wherever you landed in whatever timeline, this great wisdom has been suppressed throughout the ages. Maybe you're there writing a book. Maybe you're there on a platform speaking your truth. Maybe you're there sketching, scribing into stones, letting hieroglyphs come out onto scrolls. Maybe you're whispering and speaking and teaching in your communities. the true wisdom about life after death, about reincarnation, and about eternal spirit and how to get to the higher light. And you would only have ever been persecuted for this truth because it's precious, it's valuable, and it deserves to be shared and told and honoured. And if there's any part of this timeline we've been to that was traumatic for you, and any part of your soul fragmented, I want you to call that soul part back in. It's yours, reclaim it. You can see it go up to a higher vessel of light. And come back down into your throat, reigniting and cleansing your throat chakra. Coming back and down into your body, letting your soul vibrate inside your body, and giving yourself a wriggle or a stretch, feeling into how your neck, your throat feels now, rolling your shoulders, opening your eyes, and grounding your feet. Come back into the space. And so I hope that meditation helped you to find your inner truth, your wisdom, your recollection of your soul and your gnosis. I know for me that one of the biggest parts of grief has been tapping me back in to what I know is spiritually true for me. And I think that's the greatest gift it's given me, because losing someone with consciousness has made me feel into everything that doesn't work for me in my own life, in my beliefs, in the paradigm, in medical health, anything that wasn't aligned or made sense to me. I felt like a lot of things were more driven by profits than people. And people are what matter. We can bandy around the idea of spirituality all we like, but what really matters is people here on earth and how connected they are with their own healing ability, their own elixirs, and their own life force. And that is what I really want to bring forward today about life force. That we have life force no matter whether we're living or we're dead. The life force is that element of the breath when it's in the body, but then the energy, the essence when it's in the ether. And this frequency is important to remember and to know and to connect with. And sometimes it can take you having to learn off other people or being reminded of coming back to your whole soul. And that happens to us in life, but that happens to us in death as well. That we need to learn how to come back to this higher level of frequency of what we are. And so I want to just honour everybody that does this kind of work. I know there is a lot of healers out there that gather in circles and do ancestral support, working with their loved ones in spirit. I know there's a lot of beautiful healers that are doing spiritual rescue work, and beautiful healers that are getting rid of the denser energy and transmuting that to the higher light so that we can all raise our vibration together. So-called dead or alive, we are a bigger tribe than we can imagine. And so I want to give you that sense of soul, hope and journey, And to know that if this is kind of work that you're interested in, you don't know how, it's why I'm providing a soul ceremony next week to help everyone with feeling into what that ancestral connection can feel like, feeling into where your loved one has gone, and are they safe and protected, and can you help them with that if not? And also feeling into yourself and your soul parts and calling all of those home so that you can be the brightest shining light, so that this earth doesn't have to feel like such a dark, difficult death space, because that is a spell that is being dismantled at this time. I will see you in ceremony next week.